Is the criticism and the lack of faith that I'm sensing from Georgia's fan base about where the football program's at right now, is that fair? Right? That's my question today, and I want to talk through it. I've got a lot of stuff written down that I want to discuss in terms of what's going on. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post here, talking about the criticism for Georgia. And I think that since obviously I have this job and my job is to keep up with it on a daily basis and to produce content for y'all, I see and hear a lot of different perspectives on what's going on. And what I am hearing and seeing a lot, and what I wonder is if it's just the loud minority, right? The loud minority of Georgia fans, is the disdain and the lack of faith and not people turning. It's not people turning on it, but man, the negativity out there is at an all-time high since I've been covering this program in 2020. And so I've spent this entire decade covering the Georgia Bulldogs football team, and I've spent, the decade before that keeping up with what's going on and following along. And I truly don't remember, the only other times where, there's moments, right? There's moments where there's a lot of negativity towards Stetson Bennett, Jake Fromm, whatever. But in terms of just negativity towards where this program is at, right? We did a video the other day with my friend Mackenzie Brooks, who works at CBS Sports. I went to Georgia with her. We studied this industry together, and we talked about the over/under being 9.5. And I see comments on the videos just saying, "Oh, I'm seeing the 7-5 comments," and it's not the 7-5 comments that never happened in that 22 offseason. These are comments that I think are real. And 2024, to me, can be defined in a lot of different ways for Georgia. And yes, regression is one of the few words that I would use to describe what happened for the Georgia Bulldogs in 2024. When you look at the previous 3 years, which, we don't know where we're at in time, as Dean would say, those 3 years may have been Georgia's glory years, where Georgia won 2 national championships and won 12-0 in the regular season in 2023 and broke its record in that Orange Bowl, right? I'm wearing the sweatshirt right now. I've got the cup back there. I was there. We'll know eventually, in the grand scheme of time, if Georgia's reign was only those 2 or 3 years, or if Kirby and Georgia are just needing to reset a little bit before they can get back to that. I think about Alabama in the early 2010s, right? They go back to back. They had to reset for a couple years before they got back to winning again. 2024 might have been a reset, and 2025 to me is a harsh reset when you look at this roster. Now, one thing is remaining the same, and that's the coaching staff. The coaching staff, Mike Bobo, he's extended through 2026. He's going to be around for at least this year. Who knows what can happen after this coming season. To me, this is a year of judgment for Mike Bobo, right? And this is, look, I don't have any ill will towards Mike. I'm not part of the screaming fans that are calling for his job or calling for a change. I think that when you look at Georgia's situation and you say, hey, they were really good with Mike in 2023 on offense. It got worse in 2024. Let's see what happens in 2025 when this personnel is going to be largely different. I think that this is the season that you can sit there and judge Mike Bobo a little bit more. If it doesn't work with Gunnar Stockton and Ryan Puglisi and what is going to be a largely new offense, right? 4 out of the 5 offensive line starters are going to be different. Nate Frazier is probably going to be, I think, as close to a workhorse running back as they had since DeAndre Swift. That is my projection. Of course, spring practice is starting this coming week, and if it looks like it'll be different, I will do my best to report that to you. But Zachariah Branch, Noah Thomas, I think Kobe Young, we'll find out if Kobe Young's still around next week, right? This offense is going to be completely different. And then you look at the other side of the ball, pretty much all of the real production from what I'm calling the glory years in those 21 through 23, that's gone. Malachi Starks, Jalen Walker, Mikael Williams, Chaz Chambliss, Smile Munden, Warren Brinson, Nazir Stackhouse, gone, right? Georgia is resetting from what happened a couple of years ago, and I look at this year and I say, we're going to get a better pulse on where Georgia's at as a program. I think that college football has changed in the last 5 years a lot, and it's going to continue to change. When you look at the week in, week out schedule, think about how much more difficult that is now than it was 2 years ago. Look at the difference between Georgia's regular seasons from 21 to 23 to 20, from all before to now, to what happened in 24, where they had to go to Texas and all these places and bam, Ole Miss, all this. And now, yes, it's going to be at home and flip it around, but they still have to play a lot of top programs on a week in, week out basis. It's similar to what's happening in the SEC in basketball right now, where the conference is so stacked and a lot of teams are beating each other and all of them have some of the toughest strengths of schedule in the country, and home advantage matters. You're seeing that in football, and you're seeing that more in football with the schedules becoming more difficult. So we will see how Kirby and Mike and Gunner, right, because I think it'll be Gunner, navigate what this 2025 campaign is going to hold for them. Dealing with Texas, Bam, and Ole Miss at home. Going to Tennessee. This is tough, right? Dealing with Georgia Tech. Think about what they had to deal with Georgia Tech last season. Now, this is not an excuse for why Georgia is not as good. Quite frankly, the talent just wasn't as good this past season, and that was a huge part of it. Very good talent. And that's why some of the negativity is a little bit confusing to me, and that's why I want to talk about it. So I really hope that you've stuck with me and are hearing me out on this. If people were so mad at the 2024 Georgia Bulldogs, and they're turning this roster over in terms of the starting team on both sides of the ball, more than they have in any season in the last 5 years, what's the negativity? If you don't know how good Daniel Calhoun's going to be and Micah Morris is going to be and Drew Bobo at center is going to be, if you don't know how good Joseph Jonah-Ajonye is going to be and Janelle Aguero, players that are going to be playing significant snaps for the first times in their career, if you don't know and you're not going to at least give them the benefit of the doubt, to me, that's just a little bit confusing. So I do get it. I understand that it's easy to be upset. I understand that it's easy to want to say, hey, it's just not as good as it was. It's not. And it might never be again. But it does not mean that Georgia is not going to compete for national championships on a year in, year out basis. Think about the 2017 team. Nick Chubb, Sonny Michel, Isaiah, all those dudes, all those guys. Jake Fromm, his freshman year. Georgia goes to they're just so close to winning the national championship. I mean, they're 3 points away and an overtime away from being national champions that season. Well, it took them 4 years to get back to that. It wasn't just, hey, we're back. In 2018, they competed. They lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. They're a touchdown away from competing in the 14 playoff. In 2019, they're close, right? Not quite as close, but they're still close. This team, it doesn't just fall off a cliff. And to me, this is the first time that I've really thought that the general opinion is that Georgia is falling off. And the truth is that college football is changing, and a dynasty is going to be far more difficult to attain. And Georgia's budding dynasty happened to be right when these mega changes were happening to our sport. Excuse me. So I don't understand the harsh negativity. I think that this is a year where it's a wait and see. Does Georgia take a step back again? That's when you open the door for this conversation on a more legitimate level. If Georgia takes a step back again with all this new personnel and kind of a reset year, then I think that you can have this conversation in a more serious manner. But when you think about the fact that it's hard to get to where they were at, and you have to have all the right talent in place, there's a lot of new talent that's going to be important. There are going to be important pieces for the Dogs in 2025. And I think that fans should at least give it a little bit of a shot. I may be speaking to the loud minority of the fan base, and you know who you are, but I do think that it's something that needs to be said. So do you disagree or you have something strong to say? I'll be taking a look at what you have to say in the comments. Thank you for watching.